Did you already make a big pair?
One sheet.
Oh my gosh, you did. Let me see.
I can hear you now, though. Just FYI.
Okay.
Bonjour. Can y'all hear me? Let me get my mic on. Let's do a mic test real quick.
Bonjour, Justin.
This is what we'll be making.
Test. Scan on.
Those are pot of water.
They need to be tighter. That's what I was telling him. I didn't get the back tightened.
Probably right.
I mean, are you gonna put string around them or anything? No.
Get the back to fit.
So I need to take it out of this. I'll actually tight.
I mean, it'll work almost like slippers.
Testing.
Cuffs.
Testing. 1, 2. Bonjour. Let's try to turn this up.
Yeah.
Testing. 1, 2. Do you guys online? Can you hear me? Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, we hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here in just a second anyway. Tell them say bonjour. Okay, Nijin, hey, the gosh kana bag wene? The gosh kana bag wene? Ask her if she's thirsty. She said, yeah, I'm thirsty. Yeah, why didn't you not? Ningeja, Paneshishna, gosh kana bag wene? The medad when dan and manakwayan eat wishkababo. I'm always thirsty. I like to drink pop or soda. Yeah, come on again. Okay, so I'm going to do a screen share here, and then y'all let me know. For those of you online, I did share the Word document in the Facebook group. It should be there if you look under like downloads or something like that. It's lesson 6. We're going to talk a little bit about putting sentences together. We're going to take a little bit of what we figured out, start making some sentences. So that should be good. I did print them out for you as well. Yes, I did not forget. Let you all pass them around. Big question. Joe. Okay. You know, niche. Go niche way down. Okay, can you folks online, do you see what my screen right now? Give me a thumbs up if you do.
Yes.
Okay, so you see my screen? Let me make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, go. I'm talking my down. Oh, you need it open? Hold on. Say Bach, put in. Yeah, sure. Okay. Say bum up here.
Told me I was exclusive.
Whoa, you can't yell at it. Okay. She does not understand how the mic works. I pull back. Okay. So let me go up here a little further in this deal here.
That's the other guy's Eddie.
There we go. Say that can't be where it starts. Okay, so we're going to start out with a prayer in the language. Get started with things in a good way here. Unitchina mana knusna bet med windamot edapnamat anet or bolewad mingun. Migwecha mingoyak mishkup kiwanen. Sema wishkamishkos kishki. Wapskabiak jayak mishkup kiwanen mingoyak. Amagostana widodaskiego mingoyak menop mazan minajit ma goswan. Manatojib to bin wetch mokek. Manatojib to bin wetch now. Manatojib to bin wetch mokej mok. Manatojib to bin wetch kasenak. Nokmas kignan. Vishok gijik. Jayak manadok nakmakshna ednes wat. Amagosnan, Nistaton nan gorgan, Zenega, Gishbin anet, Goromajik, Ewebkin das wat or a jeshmon. Ni jok meshnak waja, menonishna be moyak, mina waja, e web kindas wat porajeshmun, or a bode wad nimun, egi mingoyak, aha, ayachmun, yo. That's long. Yeah, quite tanja, maybe. Nui nada ni wishkababo omshe, e web kinomage yanko. I'm gonna grab myself a wishkababo. Okay. Now, you know what I like? Not a new wish kebab, man. Guess I could have just had her go get it. Okay, so today we're gonna try to take a little bit of what we learned and try to build some sentences and get into a little bit of structure, how we actually start saying stuff. We've got a little bit of vocabulary under our hands. We've done a little bit of with introductions, bojo, nijana, anwe shishana, nijej nakajin, all that good stuff. And then we've done a little bit with animals. What is a mako? Okay, what about a suxy? What about an aspen? Sure. Raccoon, yeah, raccoon. What about a giggle? We do giggle?
No.
Oh, yeah, it's a fish. Okay, I can't remember. Paneshi? Bird, yeah. What about what's an eagle? Canoe. What's a horse? Nekdosha. What about a dog? Namosh. What about a cat? Do we not do cat? Okay, well, Kajo. I hate to say I forgot which ones I did. There's like 24 of them. There's obviously hundreds of animals, so that's a good start though. We also did a little bit of weather. We did some weather terminologies like Gajatem get. What's Gajatem get? It is hot. Yeah. What about Gamoan? Gamoan. Does anyone remember that? If it starts to Gamoan, you gotta get to mowing, raining. Gamoan. What about Jigwek b'mosewat? What is that? That saying, Jigwek b'mosewat. Anybody remember? Jigwek b'mosewat. You hear that storm approach and you might hear this, be like, oh, the thunders are walking. Jigwek b'mosewat. Jigwe, that's thunder. So we learned some of those words. We also learned some numbers. We learned how to count to 1,000 or 1,000,000. I'm sure you could demonstrate if we needed you to. Okay, come count to 10 over here. Where? Beyond Choda. Need your permission. Help me out here. You count to 10, okay? Stay right there. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Go. Turn around. So they can see you. Okay. Stay. Okay, you ready?
Go, niche, shui, meow, goat watcher,
Beyond it.
Ian, goat watcher, biak, shotto, sock, madotto.
Yeah, what that? Big wedge, big wedge. It's always nice when you can have an assistant, okay? And then if we go beyond that, we go like 11, 12, we just have to add it to it. So it's like madatso shech goat, madatso shech dish, madatso shech sweat. And then if we learn 20, 30, 40, it's real easy to kind of go forward with that. So we did some stuff with numbers. Last class, we did some stuff with body parts. And we also did some stuff with commands. Does anybody remember how to say my ear? Natog is my ear. This was from class 5, Natog. And then what about Josh? What is the Josh? Point to your Josh. Joe. There it is, your nose. Josh. One minute. I don't know. You might have tied with Dwight there. Dwight was pretty fast.
I'm reading.
What about your cot? What is your cot?
Heel,
Cho.
mouth,
Cho.
eye.
Oh, you're just throwing words out there. Your leg, cot. I have to work on you with your body parts. Scared, huh? Okay, we learned a couple others. We learned like wee bit, stop, gaggle, gaggle. Jutubaniba. Hey, dado paman orajopi. Inake we bodachke gidie. Jiptuban orajopi. Code, mish, shwe, now, yan. Okay. And I won't translate that. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do some stuff again with building sentences today. And if you guys look at the this paper up here. So one thing that kind of confuses a lot of times the English speakers is we're used to the I, the you, the he or she being kind of separated out in a sentence. You know, when you say like, I go to the store, or I eat, whatever, but with Potawatomi, all that information is contained right there on the verb, okay? So neen, even though by itself does mean I, it's really more like the in or the nida. That's the I part, and then it's attached to the verb. So like namaji, I leave. Nidajia, I leave. Now the difference between those two, one is a long form and one's a short form. Some verbs we have a tendency to use the long form on, and sometimes there's some additional change that'll happen at the front. If you use the long form, it won't happen, so it stops it from happening. Okay, Gago kebadze. I'm sorry about that. So, gin means you, and then the G or the gada is also you, okay? This will make more sense when I come down to these sentences. Ween, or the W on it, or just nothing on the verb, that means he or she. So, let's go down to the sentence here, the we sin, I'm eating. That in on the front is the I part. So that no we sin in Potawatomi is one word. In English, it's an entire sentence. So I am eating. No we sin. Go we sin, you are eating. Go we sin. That G at the front is the you. And again, we sin is the verb to eat. And then he or she is eating, we sna. We sna is just the basic root form of this verb. It just flips a little bit in the first and second person. But we sna just means he or she is eating. Now, if you're wondering, how do I determine if it's he or she? It's contextual in some ways with Potawatomi. I mean, if you were talking about somebody in particular, like I've been talking about, let's say Dwight over here, and I've been talking about him, well, obviously it's him that I'm talking about. Now, you can get specific by adding like a kwe or a nene on the sentence too. Kwe means woman, nene means man. So you could say, we sna o kwe, that woman is eating, or we sna o nene, that man is eating, he's eating. Now, here's an example of using the long form and kind of why we do it sometimes. Nedemanakwe, I'm drinking. Nedemanakwe, I'm drinking. Now, if you use the short form, it changes to mankwe. The mankwe, it moves over. The mankwe. So we use the long form with it. Gedemanakwe, manakwe, gedemanakwe, you are drinking. Gedemanakwe, and then just manakwe, he or she is drinking. Manakwe. Now, when I'm hungry, it kind of changes a little bit to more of an M sound than an N sound. But if you said it with an N, it's not going to affect anything. But bakte, I'm hungry. Bakte. Gabakte, you are hungry. Gabakte. You're not telling somebody they're hungry, but you're saying you're hungry. You hungry. Now, you might use this in a sentence. You might say gabakte ne. Gabakte ne. Are you hungry? Gabakte ne. If I wanted to ask a question, am I hungry? I would say bakte ne. Am I hungry? Bakte ne. Hopefully you're not having these kind of dialogues out loud though. You might get hauled away at some point. You start talking to yourself. So, I mean, I guess if you're doing it in Potawatomi, you might be able to get away with it. People will be like, oh, okay, speaking their language. Little they know you're actually talking to yourself. But bakte. And then gabakte, you're hungry. And then the he or she, the form is bakade, bakade. As you can see, it moves over a little bit. And then the first and second person, bakte, gabakte, and bakade. Now, to say he or she is just bakade, but you can also put a walk on there. That walk is kind of an older form. You don't really see it used a lot anymore. but occasionally some older speakers will put like a walk. You really run into this more if you get to like older dialogues or like older documents. Really, you don't see it used too much, but so bakade, he or she is hungry. Bakade.
Well, where does the walk go with the longer?
Oh, it just goes right at the end of it. So if you wanted to use the walk, it would be bakade walk, just all attached to it. Bakade walk. That would also mean he or she is hungry. Bakade or bakade walk. So now, if this is a lot for you, just hold on. It'll make more sense. I hope one day. Go get gonna bitch quite enough. Be patient with yourself. Remember, just be patient with yourself, and don't feel like you have to get it all today. Again, it makes more sense the more you see it, the more you talk it, the more you work with it. Today, I just wanted to get a little out of the box. I wanted to get away from just the general vocabulary we've been doing, because vocabulary, don't get me wrong, it's important, it's good, it's useful, but I don't want you guys to leave this class going, well, I can go table, chair, sun, pop. I want you to be able to say, hey, not any wish kebab or wish kebab, I'm gonna drink that pop. I want you to say some more meaningful type sentences. So. Scan on. Okay. So there are some types of verbs which drop vowels at the end, or they do some irregular things, but most AI verbs or VAI verbs act in this manner, okay? The VAI verbs, for the non-linguistical person, that means animate intransitive verbs. They're basically like statement verbs. I eat, I drink, I sit, I leave, you leave, but they don't really affect anybody else. And you're not talking about you're not saying I'm gonna leave in my car, you're not saying I'm gonna eat that sandwich, you're just saying I'm gonna eat, or I'm eating, or whatever, you're just making statements, basic statements. And these are your first type verbs to get used to. You can really get around using the language if you can understand the patterns in these simple, there's like 7 total. There's I, you, he or she, me but not you, we all, you all, and they. If you get that 7 patterns down, like I'm only showing you 3 of them today. If you get the 7 down, you can start talking Potawatomi, a ton of it right away. Now, it'll come out a little bit broken because this is how it'll sound. It'll be like, I went to the store, I saw that guy. Instead of saying, I went to the store and saw him. Instead of being like real direct and real precise, real crisp, it'll be a little bit like, a little choppy. But it'll make sense. And it's kind of like a process. You gotta swim before, I guess you gotta wade before you can swim, or whatever you want to call it. You can't just suddenly be like, talking Shakespeare or Potawatomi one day. It's like that in any language. You gotta kind of work your way up to it. So these type verbs will help you get there. The other type verbs that you end up using quite a bit are called TI verbs. TI verbs almost act the exact same way. The only difference with TI verbs is you have a plural form. Now, these are verbs where you're working with something. So like, I touch the table, I drink the pop, I pick up the tablet. So you're doing something with something inanimate. I pick up the papers, more than one of them. So there's a plural form of it. So, nadapnan I wiokwan, I'm picking up the hat. Nadapnan I wiokwan. Wiokwan is a hat. N is I, dapnan, I'm picking up that hat. The dapnan I wiokwan. Gadapnan I wiokwan, you are picking up the hat. Gadapnan I wiokwan, you are picking up the hat. Dapnan I wiokwan, or wadapnan I wiokwan, he or she is picking up the hat. So some people will put a W on there. You don't have to. You just use the base, the verb. That's good enough. So wadapnan or dapnan I wiokwan. He or she is picking up the hat. Again, if you want to specify like it's a woman doing, you might say kwe dapnan I wiokwan. The woman is picking up the hat. Or nene dapnan I wiokwan. The man is picking up the hat. The only kind of difference here with these type verbs is you have a plural of it. And to say it like I'm picking up the hats plural, you add this en to the end of it. So instead of nadapnan, it becomes nadapnanen. I'm picking up them. Nadap na, then now it's not one hat, it's those hats. Ni wio quan nin. Wio quan is one hat, wio quan nin are hats plural. So now you're saying I'm picking up those hats. Nadap na nin ni wio quan nin. Da do klaben damas orojobi. Genesidone? Gedap nanen ni wio quanen. You are picking up those hats. Again, the G at the front, that's the U. Dap nan is the verb to pick up. When you add the E in, now you're picking up more than one. You're picking them up, and then the ni means those. Wio quanen hat. Wio quan hat. Wio quanen hats. So now you're saying I'm picking up those hats. Again, this will make more sense the more examples that we do. This is not the only day we're going to talk about this. We're going to re-talking about it and keep talking about it until it's real crystal clear, hopefully in your minds. But I can tell you from my own experience as a second language learner myself, as an adult learner, when you're coming to language as an adult learner, understanding the grammar has done me a ton of good over the years. Understanding the structure, if you can understand these patterns, because there are definite patterns, it will help you as an adult learner. As a child, we don't always have to do this because the patterns naturally, you naturally learn the patterns. This is the same with almost any language. I mean, if you pick up a language as a child, you just naturally start to understand. You don't say, store I did go, you say I did go to the store. You just start to understand how it works. It's the same with Potawatomi. So if we had learned it at a much younger age, like these little ones back here, they might not have to worry about the grammar as much. But as adult learners, it helps us to kind of understand the structure. It helps us to be able to use the language in meaningful ways that we want. Let me move this slide down a little bit here. Did anybody have any
Justin.
questions? Wasn't looking for questions. Let me go up here.
I have two.
Oh my goodness, I have a lot of questions. I apologize. Okay. AI, animated transitive. Yeah, those are the super basic ones, yeah. Let me go up, I think that wasn't the last question. Is it really Mbukde? Not Mbukde. No, it's Mbukde, but I mean, you can hear some people say with an N, but it changes into that M sound, Mbukde. What was the first type of verb? AI verb? I think somebody answered that for me. I apologize, I'll stay up there and pay attention to it more.
I have one more question for you, Justin.
Okay, call it AI.
You can't hear me.
Oh, you guys are helping each other out. That's good. So obviously I haven't been. I apologize. Okay, so I think I got all those covered. Miigwech for those of you out there helping each other out. That's good. That's good community spirit. I like it. I like it a lot. So let me move the slides down. Let's look at some more stuff here. Okay, I got a question here in the local class here. Okay, let's see. So like, let's go do it. Yeah, that's like a command form. And the way you would say that is you say, Gagag Wiesteman. Gagag Wiesteman. I'll write over here on this board here, and I'll show the board to everybody in a minute. It goes online, but it's.
Does that go up there with that?
No, I can't get a sheet of it. I probably could figure it out someday. I mean, get it to come up there.
No, I mean, is that where it goes, or is it a complex one?
No, it's a normal one, but it's a command form of voice. You're saying, let's do it. So it's right here. And I will turn it around, maybe bring the camera a little closer. Gagay Wiesteman, let's eat. Gagay Wiesteman. Gagay Wiesteman. I don't know if they're gonna be able to see this. I don't know how far I can get. I might bring it a little closer. Hold on, let me bring it a little closer here. That's a good question. Yeah, Gagay Wiesteman. Let's eat. Y'all see that at all? Gagay Wiesteman. Let's eat. Yeah, you can do that. You can say that. Another thing people will say is just we snook. Everybody eat. We snook. You can just say we snook. Everybody eat, or Gagay Wiesteman. Let's eat. Those are two ways. It's a little different. There's a language that's close to it. In Ojibwa, they actually have another form where they put a da on it. They say, we snada, but anyway, we're not learning Ojibwa, so just a side note. Our older brothers there. Okay, so let's move this down a little bit here. I guess they could kind of see it. It was on my screen. Okay. There we go. Oh, too far. Scanna. Kabaktamne. Vietnam jana. Bukadewakne. Getchwajana wapunojiyak. They're hungry like little mice over there. Guesmina and Damas. It'd be a lot to Bodewad name one. My son and my daughter. Dang it, I keep making it hit. I'm gonna have to just be, okay, guys, okay. I'm gonna stop right here. It's driving me crazy. Every time I get close to being where I wanted, it jumps too far up. So we're gonna stay put with it here. So, Widop Namani Wheelquanan, he or she is picking up half. That's just kind of a continuation. Or Dop Namani Wheelquanan. Okay, another example, this is using some of our body part words that we learned in class 5. Nadagnan e najash. I am touching my nose. Nadagnan e najash. Nadagnan e najash. The N is the I. E is like that, and then najash is my Josh. But if you think of it as an I there too, it kind of makes sense, like my nose, najash. Gadagnan e najash. Gadagnan e najash. You are touching my nose. Gadagnan e najash. Again, the G is the you. Dagnan is the verb to touch it, to touch something. Najash, my nose. Stop. Yeah, go on. We're right here. Nadagnan e Josh. Gadagnan e Najash. I'm going to do that one. Gadagnan e Gajash. You are touching your nose. Gadagnan e Gajash. You are touching your nose. Your nose is Gajash. Najash is my nose. So Gadagnan e Gajash. You are touching your nose. G being you. Okay. And then you often also will see that these verbs in this, what's called the conjunct form. Okay. What we've shown you so far is called the independent form. But the conjunct form, you'll see it whenever we ask more complicated questions. If we ask you a who, what, when, where type question, it's going to be in the conjunct. For example, if I were to ask you what your name is, like in our introductory class, I would say, Nija Ejnakaz Yin. What is your name? That yin is the you. Nija Ejnakaz Yin. If I ask you, where are you from? Nipija Wech Bia Yin. The yin is you. Where are you from? If I ask, where am I from? Which again, if I'm confused, I might say this, but Nipija Wech Bia Yan. Where am I from? The yan is I. If you want to ask where he or she is from, Nipija Wech Biat. Where is he or she from? Nipija Wech Biat, because it ends in a T. So if you look up here, Maji Yan, I'm leaving. The yan is I. Maji Yin, you are leaving. The yin is you. Majit, he or she is leaving. The T is he or she. So, for example, somebody put in the Padami group, I noticed, they said, Wenija ga boget. Wenija ga boget. Wenija means who. Ga is the past tense. Boge is the verb to fart. The T on the end is he or she. So, who is it, he or she that farted? Who farted is what they put. Wenija ga boget. I thought it was pretty funny. But if you wanted to say, you know, yeah, who farted? Wenija ga boget. So the T. But again, the yan, just remember, the yan is I, the yin is you, the T is he or she. Now, you also have these VTI verbs, okay? These are the ones we're talking about, like I touch it, I see it, I read it. Okay, an example here would be wabdan. Wabdan means to see something. So like I would say, no wabdan e dokwin. I see that table. No wabdan e dokwin. No wabdan e wheelkwan. I see that hat. No wabdan e wheelkwan. Now in the conjunct on these though, they're a little bit different. And again, I'm just exposing you guys to this, so don't stress over it if you don't get this right away. It's just kind of, I just wanted to show you the he, she, you, and I forms. Those three forms, okay? Wabdaman, I see it or them. In the conjunct, it's it or them. It's plural or singular, depends what you're talking about. Wabdamen, you see it or them. Wabdak, he or she sees it or them, okay? Now, if they end in an, they follow this pattern right here. So if it ends in don or con or non or son, it's going to follow this little pattern right here. If it ends in don or tone, like an on, you just drop the n off and you plop your yan, yin, t. Follows the same pattern as the maji. So be a don means to bring it. So you just take the n off and you say be a do yan, would be I bring it. Be a do yin, you bring it or them. Be a dote, he or she brings it or them. Now, when do we use the conjunct versus the independent form? Does anybody know? Oh, we got questions. I promised I'd be more attentive. I've already got 4 questions. I apologize. Let me go up there and look at my questions here. Sorry about that. I'm not sure which one we're talking about here. Is that a typo? Let me see. You are. Hats. You are one person picking up the hats. She's picking up the hats. I don't see it, but I'll come back and I'll look for it here in a minute. Not saying I didn't make a typo. I'm certainly not perfect. Sometimes you look at these and you see them all in Potawatomi and they look good, and then you don't realize your English is wanky, or vice versa. Your Potawatomi is messed up. Usually it's for me, it's the English that ends up getting messed up. And I read it through and I read what I want to see. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's right. So, okay, finally, Gek P, how to talk in the future and the past. Hey, Dadok Babak Wadajopi. Jip Tabak. Trying to butter me up there. Okay. Let me bring this screen down a little bit. So we're now going to talk about the future and the past. Again, your minds are going to be swimming after this class probably, but hopefully they're going to swim in a good way, and some of their information will swim somewhere where you can find it again. Okay, I'm not going to risk going any further up. Okay, so in the independent form, so that was that namaji, gamaji, maji, that form where the N is on it, or the G's on it, or nothing's on it. Gi is the past tense, gi, and we is the future. There's also this ge, which is the immediate future. It's also used in this form here to say, let's do it. It's like immediately happening right now. So that ge, that's like the immediate future. So gi is the past, we is the future, okay? In the conjunct form, we use ga or egi for the past, and we, whoa, that's a typo. Wa should say wa, or ewi for the future. That one should say wa right there if you get your sheet at home. I could probably change it on, I can't change it on y'all sheets, but I can change it real quick. No. I think it's locked to my office. I was still messing with it. So it's not gonna let me edit it. So yeah, on that one up here on the conjunct, it should say wa, W-A /ewi. So it's wa or ewi. And for the past, it's ga or egi. Okay. Now, here's some example sentences, okay? So you could say, Nijapi wa majiyin. Nijapi wa majiyin. When are you going to leave? Nijapi wa majiyin. Maybe you want to say this to a relative who's outstayed their welcome. Nijapi wa majiyin. When are you going to leave? So I never did answer that question about when we use the conjunct versus the independent. The conjunct is used with more complicated questions. What I mean by complicated, I mean questions that actually probe for a little more information. So, if you're asking why somebody's doing this, or who's doing it, or when they're doing it, or where they're doing it, those are more probing type questions. They're in the conjunct. If you're asking questions that are like yes, no type responses, they're in the independent. So for example, "Gabaktene, are you hungry?" It's in the independent. "Bishne, do you want some bish?" It's in the independent. It's like a yes, no type question. It's in the independent. Also, when you have multiple verbs in a sentence, usually the second verb and all the ones after that a lot of times will go into the conjunct. So for example, if I said, I don't know, I saw that table and I decided to buy it. Okay, so dopwen nawabdan mina egishpenedoyan. So I saw that table and I bought it. The second verb went into the conjunct. So, and here's an example of those two ways you can do the conjunct. You can either use wa for the future or ewi. And in the past, you can use ga or egi. Now, a lot of times you're going to have other indicators that help you know if it's the past or the future. Like you may have a nago for yesterday or a wabak for tomorrow. Those will help you know if they're the past or not. So this first one says, nijapi, that means when, wa, that's the future, maji yin, the yin being used. So when are you going to leave? Nijapi wa maji yin. Now, how would you say, when am I going to leave? Using that same sentence there. Nijapi wa maji. What would you say to say, when am I going to leave? How would you change that? From nijapi wa maji yin. How would you change that?
In front of my GM.
Now, if it was the independent, that would be true, but this is the conjunct. And when the conjunct, all the information about who does it is on the end of it. So instead of yin, you would say yan. So you would say nijapi wa maji yan. When am I going to leave? Nijapi wa maji yan instead of yin. Again, I know this for a lot of y'all, this may be a little bit of a head scratcher, it's maybe a little deep for you, so just take it in. It'll make more sense the more you hear this stuff. Nijapi ga maji yin. When did you leave? Nijapi ga maji yin. When did you leave? The ga is the past. Nijapi is when. Maji is the verb to leave. Yin is you. Nijapi ga maji yin. Or you could also use instead the ewi. So you could say, nijapi ewi maji yin. When you're going to leave. Or nijapi egi maji yin. When did you leave? Now, the reason I put both of these up there is because there are some speakers that favor one over the other. And there's not really per se a reasoning behind it other than maybe they just like to use it. I know in Kansas, they really like to use the wa and the ga quite a bit. And I know Jim Thunder tends to favor the ewi and egi variation, but it's not exclusive either. It's not like, that doesn't mean they won't flip the other direction. So it's good to know both ways. And if I haven't made your head swim enough, I've got some more stuff that really should finish you off, or at least make you really, really get your mind moving around. Okay, another type of verb that we have are the VII verbs. We've mentioned them before, but we haven't gone into a lot of great detail. We've actually done quite a few of them because a lot of our weather terms are actually verbs. But a lot of words that are actually adjectives in English are verbs in Potawatomi. To be round, it's round, they're round. You know, it's smooth, they're smooth. It's cold, they're cold. There's two main forms of these type verbs, it and they. But there's two ways you could do them. Okay? So for example, gajate. Okay, gajate means it's hot. But you can also say gajatem get. Now this is talking about the weather, so it's hot outside. Gajatem get or gajate mean the same thing, it's hot. With this particular one, there's not a plural. You can't pluralize the level of heat outside because it's being caused by the sun. Unless I guess there was a second sun out there blazing. If there is, it's no longer gajate, it's whiskadam get, which means blazing hot, like you can cook an egg on the grill. It's no longer gajate. So gajate, it's hot. Gajatem get also means it's hot. But if you said it's gonna be hot, you say we gajate. It's gonna be hot. We gajate, or we gajatem get. It's gonna be hot. So if you want to say it's gonna be hot tomorrow, wabak we gajate. It's gonna be a hot one tomorrow. Gi gajate, it was hot. Stop. Yeah, go. Dato kabat. Nasana. Okay. Or gi gajatem get, it was hot. So either gi gajate or gi gajatem get, it was hot. In the daycare, a lot of times we just teach gajate because it's as correct as gajatem get. A lot of times people hear gajatem get and they think it's like a cuss word in English. So it just makes for easier transition for some folks. I like gajatem get myself. I feel like that sounds hot to me. Gajatem get. Woo, it's hot. Wow, yasto. That's another good one. Wow, yasto. Tornado. Masha means it's big. Masha. Masham get, another way to say it, it's big. Both mean that. Mashanon, they're big. Now here we could be talking about anything inanimate. It could be like tables, it could be chairs, it could be, I don't know, shoes, whatever you think in your perception is big. So Masha or Masham get, it's big. Mashanon, they're big. Namakaznin, Mashanon, my shoes are big. Namakaznin, Mashanon, my shoes are big. Not particularly. Madatso, Madatso the bag, tens, but Namakaznin, Mashanon, my shoes are big. Or Gamakaznin gi Mishanon. Gamakaznin gi Mishanon. Your shoes are big. Gamakaznin gi Mishanon. Gamakaznin we Mishanon. Your shoes will be too big. I guess I had to pass in that last one. Sorry. Gi Makaznin gi Mishanon. Your shoes were too big. Gimakaznin we Mishanon. Your shoes will be too big. So you got the future there and the past being shown. And again, a lot of times when you hear the future or the past, you're also going to hear a time indicator. So that's going to help you out. You're going to hear maybe a wabuk tomorrow or a gom today or a nago for yesterday. You're going to hear one of these words a lot of times in a sentence. Like if I ask you, when are you leaving? I'm probably going to say, when are you leaving tomorrow? Because I obviously knew you were leaving or I wouldn't have asked you. So I'd be like, Nijapi wabuk wa maji. Nijapi wabuk wa maji. When are you going to leave tomorrow? Nijapi wabuk wa maji. Now, if I have no idea when you're leaving, I just know you're leaving, I'd be like, Nijapi wa maji. Nijapi wa maji. Or Nijapi we maji. When are you going to leave? Gom today. Gom. Nago yesterday. Nago yesterday. Again, if you hear these time indicators, that's probably going to help you out because they have to line up. So if you're saying Nago, it's going to be in the past. You're going to have a gi or a ga. If you have a wabuk, it's tomorrow. It's going to be in the future. You need to have either a we or an ewi or a wa, depending on what type of verb it is, or what form it's in. Few other time indicators, and some of these you guys may have seen on the Citizen Potawatomi page where they like to post how the weather, or like good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have local celebrities that like to join us every once in a while in class, and I like to highlight that. Also, we have some talented singers among us. We won't go there though. So anyway, so you'll see some of these pop up sometimes in that feed, that news feed where folks will say, hey, good morning, Manowabin. Good morning, or Manogij now, good afternoon. So Odajopi means right now. Odajopi, right now. So like, I use this one quite a bit with my kids. Like if I'm like, Bian Joda Odajopi, come here right now. Bian. Okay. Jeeptaben Odajopi. Okay, they're just running around like crazy. And Miigwech. Okay, apparently they're listening. That's good. Odajopi, right now. Now Kwe is noon, and then now Kwek means at noon. Now Kwe is noon, now Kwek would be at noon. So if I said, Mino now Kwe, it's, I said more like Gij now Kwe, better. Good afternoon. Wabin is morning, Wabin. Like people say, Mino Wabin, good morning, Mino Wabin. Gejep, Gejep, excuse me, Gejep. Actually, I don't know why I put it like that. It should be Gejep, Gejep. Early morning, this would be like farmer's morning. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun's, this is when I get up to get my kids up for school. Gejep, Gejep, Gejep. Pekonya is evening, and then Pekonyak in the evening. Pekonya, evening, Pekonyak in the evening. Debuket is night. Debukuk in the evening. Debukuk in the evening. Debukok is last night. Debukok is last night. And then Opta Debuket is midnight, literally halfway through the night. Opta Debuket. Okay. Make sure I don't have any more stuff I'm missing here. Hold on. Let me move it down a little bit. We're almost there, folks. Don't worry. Stay strong. Honestly, there's not too much more. It's the last little section, so don't melt out of me yet. Nipija Wechbiaya. Where are you from? Nipija Wechbiaya. Again, that yin is the U. Now, if you look at this next sentence, this is an example from our intro, our first class. We had I'm Indian or I'm native. Nishnab and Dow. If you see there's that ND, there's the I part of it. That's part of that nida, that long form that kind of goes into it. Dow, I am. Godow, you are native. Godow. That's that GD is that U part. That's the Gida, the long form. Dadok Mabak, Odajopi. Ganeshadona? You know, Skina. And then Nishnabe Yahweh, he or she is native. Yahweh, that's the base verb itself. He or she is. And it changes from Nadao, Gadao, Yahweh. It's just a little bit irregular, if you will. Nidayakwas, I'm tired. We also had this one in class 1. Nidayakwas, I'm tired. Gidayakwas, you're tired. They're both in the long form. There's the nida for the I, the gida is you, and then yakwazeh, he or she is tired. So nidayakwas, I'm tired. Gidayakwas, you're tired. Yakwazeh, he or she is tired. Again, if you want to specify it's a certain person, yakwazeh, oh, Paul. Paul's tired. Or yakwazeh, oh, Peyton's tired. Harpo. On again. That's funny. Nago Nagi Yakwes. I was tired yesterday. Nago Nagi Yakwes. I was tired yesterday. The Nago, Nago is yesterday. Nagi, I was, or I did, or I was, Yakwase, or Yakwes, sorry. Stop. Okay, sorry, excuse me, I'm being distracted here by a child. Okay, I apologize. You got me all. So Nago Nagi Yakwes. I was tired yesterday. The N is the I, the Gi is the past, Yakwes is the verb to be tired. So leave it alone. Boni can't. Nago Nagi Yakwes. I was tired yesterday. Nago Gagi Yakwes. You were tired yesterday. Nago gigi yakwes. You were tired yesterday. So nago is yesterday. The first G is you. The key is the past. It happened in the past. Yakwes, the verb to be tired. Nago gi yakwese. He or she was tired yesterday. Nago gi yakwese. Nago is yesterday. Gi is the past. Yakwese, he or she is tired. Wabak nui yakwes. Wabak nui yakwes. I'm going to be tired tomorrow. Wabak nui yakwes. You must have a big project going on. Wabak nui yakwes. I'm going to be tired tomorrow. Wabak, tomorrow. The N on the front is I. The we is the future. Yakwes, to be tired. So wabak nui yakwes. I'm going to be tired tomorrow. Wabak goi yakwes. You're going to be tired tomorrow. Wabak goi yakwes. You're going to be tired tomorrow. Wabak we yakwese. Wabak we yakwese. He or she is going to be tired tomorrow. Squatch, nui weed moyak, jeep debuk, orjopi enake, no webodachke gadie, eba wigwamak, jeep debuk, orjopi, mina dadlo babuk, kiepnon janan skades orjopi. Sorry about that. I had to yell at my kids for a second. Nago, gi, nago, and this one, the gi actually kind of flows into it when you say it's geek moen. Nago, geek moen, it rained yesterday. Nago geek moen. It rained yesterday. Nago geek moen. Wabuk week moen. It's going to rain tomorrow. Wabuk week moen. It's going to rain tomorrow. And I think that might be almost the end of it here. Let me come down a little more. Yep, a couple more. Up 2 more, 3 more. So, Nijapi squatch ga gamoak. Nijapi squatch ga gamoak. When did it rain last? Squatch means last. Nijapi squatch ga gamoak. Gamoak is the conjunct form of that verb, gamoen. And that's what's used when you ask these who, what, when, where type questions. So, Nijapi, when, squatch, last, ga, past, gamoak, it rained. So when did it rain last? Nijapi squatch ga gamoak. Nijapi mina wagamoak. Nijapi mina wagamoak. When is it going to rain again? Nijapi mina wagamoak. Nijapi, when, mina, again, wa, the future, gamoak, it's going to rain in the conjunct form. Nijapi mina wagamoak. When is it going to rain again? We know didn't now quick. We know didn't now quick. Is it going to be windy at noon? We know didn't now quick. So we in the future, is it going to be windy? We know didn't question now quick at noon. So is it going to be windy at noon? Maybe you're thinking about flying a kite or I don't know, flying an hot air balloon. That's a deterrent if it's windy, but it's good if it's windy and you're flying kites. We know didn't now quick. Is it going to be windy at noon? We know didn't now quick. And that's all I got for you guys today. I think I might have melted some of your minds. I hope I didn't hurt them too bad. I hope that some of this will make more sense the more that we look at it. I really wanted to kind of spend this class kind of getting a little bit away from just the general vocab, though don't get me wrong, general vocab is very important. It's good to have a nice foundation of language that you can use, but I definitely wanted you guys to be able to see a little bit more into it, how you actually form statements, how you make basic statements, how you use the past and the future. Yes, sir.
How do we say? How do you say?
Nija da kidyan. How would you say? Nija da kidyan. I'll write that up. Nija. Let me erase this real quick. So nija, that's your how. Okay. Da means could or should. Okay. Ked, yin. Nija da kidyin, Nija da kidyin. How would you or how could you say, and then like rapid or whatever. Nija da kidyin, astronaut, or whatever. Nija da kidyin. How would you say or how could you say it?
Is it any
Nija
different-
da
is it any
kidyin.
different to say, how do we say?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that too, like how would we say? You could say it like that too. I mean, here you're asking somebody, you could also say, there's another way to say it, like how would it be said? You can say,
Yeah, what if you said that's right?
Nijada Kadomguk, how would it be said? Nijada Kadomguk, how would it be said? So there's different ways you can say it. You could also say like you're saying, how would we say it? Or you could even just ask, you could even do it in a real simple way by saying like if you, whatever the word was, you'd be like astronaut, nay. Like you're asking like, how would I say it? Like a really simplistic way of asking, what is that? Astronaut nay? Very simplistic way of saying it. Or Nijada Kedomguk or Nijada Kedyin. There's often more than one way to say things, and that's the truth. That's true in English too. I mean, if you wanted to ask somebody, hey, what are you doing? You might say, yeah, what up? What's up? Or Nijaya Webzine, what's happening with you? Or, you know, whatever. What are you doing today? Lots of different ways to get to the same general thing. The same with asking somebody how they're feeling. You can, we always use our Nija not, but you can also ask somebody, Nija Ej Bamadzian, how are you living? Or things of that nature. So often different little ways to say it. So let me go up here and make sure I don't have any questions, because hopefully I don't have a whole bunch sitting on me, then I'll be in trouble. I'll go up here. Okay, if you do have questions later, please don't hesitate to send me an email, jneely@potawatomi.org. You can also put questions in the Facebook language group. You might actually get a response even faster than I get there. Somebody else will answer it first. This class will also eventually be up, put on our YouTube channel, and I'll share the link in the Facebook group. So, miigwech ebiayak or borewad minwan gishpen Egypt bien iba edayan anake ebiayan joda yatso kau gungok. So thank you for coming to this class, whether you're sitting in your chair at your house or you came here to the Cultural Heritage Center. Miigwech. Aha. Yo, mama mina. Mama pin. Wave at y'all here real quick on the way out. Oh, my kids want to wave here. Say, Mama pin.
Mama pig.
Come up here.
Mama pig.
Oh, you're loud.
Yeah.
Amamine.
Mama mina.
Stop. Stop. Right.